welcome to the Choral Conductors Colloquium, Volume 2, Lecture 4. My name is Raul Dominguez, and I will be your host and moderator today. Before we begin, please note, this webinar is being recorded and will be posted in the near future on our YouTube channel. There you can find all of our past lectures. The University of Colorado Boulder is offering credit and certificates through their Department of Continuing Education for those who attend all 5 of our lectures. Details on how to apply can be found in your Colloquium e-blasts. Today's lecture will be about 1 hour long, followed by a 15-minute question and answer session. Please submit questions at any time using the Q&A button found in your toolbar. Priority will be given to questions about today's topic. Please note, do not submit questions to the chat room, for they will not be considered. Thank you to our sponsors, you, our viewers, and as well as Dr. Gregory Gentry and the Choral Department at the University of Colorado Boulder. To help keep our resources free and available, please consider a small $10 donation for attending the Colloquium today. The donation link is now in the chat. Now it is my sincere privilege to welcome the Director of Choirs from Miles College, Professor Valerie Harris.
Thank you, Raul. What an honor and a privilege it is to be here with you today. I am just thankful and grateful for the opportunity just to share a little bit of what I know to those of us who deal with choirs on a regular basis and those who deal with students or people who are not necessarily trained, but who we teach and have contact with on a regular basis. So I am honored today to come to you with what I've entitled, the presentation that I've entitled, Training the Inexperienced Singer. And Raul, if you could start my presentation right now, my PowerPoint. I do have PowerPoint for us today. And I want us to just look at, when we talk about inexperienced singer, we're really saying those who have not really been trained in music, or who may know a little something about music, but just necessarily don't read notes, and are probably used to doing everything by rote or by ear. And so over the years, I've had the opportunity to work with quite a few choirs where that was the case. And not everyone read notes, just a few. And so over the years, I've kind of taken into account what it took to get the choirs that I was over or conducted or directed, what it took to get them to be to a place where we felt good about what we were doing and the sound that was produced from those people. So we're going to talk about that some today. And we can go to the next slide, please, Raul. And thank you again, Raul, for doing this for me. I really appreciate it. So before we begin, you can go back, and before you begin, I just want to talk about coming into the choir room or coming into your choir space, and what you really need to focus on. Number one, and I've written down some things here, create a cheerful atmosphere. It's very important to me for people who don't read notes, who are probably feeling not as comfortable as those of us who do read. So coming into an atmosphere that's cheerful, that's not heavy, making sure that they feel that they are part of what we're getting ready to go through. It's really important. Loosen up and relax the entire body. A lot of times when we get ready to come in, we're going to do stretches, we're going to do different things that are going to make our bodies feel good, and that's really important too, because remember, these people are not used to this. These inexperienced singers are not used to just coming in like us, opening the book, reading music, and going on from there. So you want to make them feel as comfortable as possible. And yes, I am still talking about training the inexperienced singer. Next, you want to promote a feeling of well-being. Make sure that they understand you're accepted here. There are no little I's, no big U's. We're all in this together because we're all coming together as a unit to try to create and produce a great sound. And so if you're get to feeling in a place where you're accepted, everyone is friendly, everyone is trying to work with you, that makes up for a lot. That really does. Next, I have warm-ups, and those of us who are choral directors, we know we must have warm-ups. I mean, no choir is in a choir if you come in and you don't do warm-ups. And I've just given us some examples of some V, V, and then we'll talk a little bit further down in this presentation about the vertical and the horizontal. But even with warm-ups, you still want to produce a sound that is a full sound but doesn't press in on the vocal cords. And so what we're trying to do is warm those vocal cords up. Lip trills and other things. And sometimes I have my students, if they have problems with that right here. So that's very helpful to those people who have not experienced warm-ups in a way as some of us who read notes have. Now I have put here the vocal warm-ups by Klaus Heisman, published by scottmusic.com. It's a printed and online version. Both of those are available. It is a wonderful tool, wonderful resource to use. It has all kinds of warm-ups to deal with different vowel sounds, different things that you're doing with your choir. This book is wonderful. I use it quite frequently, plus other things that I use for warm-ups as we work with the choir. So we can go to the next slide, please, Raul. So today, I want to talk about 4 areas of examination that we're going to look at. We're going to look at expectations, music principles, vocal placement, and the application. And I chose these because what I need for you to understand in this presentation isn't just only about music. There are some other things interjected into here that I think we need to understand when it comes to working with choirs and working with singers and wanting to produce the best sound that we can. So if we look at expectations, if you go to the next slide, please. The first thing, what do you expect from the singer? As a choral director, what do you expect for your singers? And here's some things that I expect for them. And there's a acrostic that I have in the choir room, and it spells out choir. And the first one is C, is for cooperation. We need cooperation. This is what I'm expecting for those who are coming into the choir room at Miles College. And this is what I'm expecting for you. I'm expecting cooperation. For H, I'm expecting harmony. For O, I'm expecting opportunity. You have opportunity to really be a great singer here. And so I'm expecting for you to take advantage of the opportunity that you have laid before you. I is for involvement. I expect for everyone to be involved. And if you've ever worked with me, if you're not being involved, I have a way of getting you involved. Yes, I do. So that's another thing that I expect. And the last thing I expect is responsibility. As responsibility, I expect for you to come in as a choir member, and I expect for you to have your music. I expect for you to have studied your music. All of these things are just vital to being that choir and being the choir members that people look to and say, oh, wow, they sing well. And it is not only because they sing well, but it's because you have responsibility. You're taking responsibility for where you are in being here in the choir, and not just at Miles College, wherever we are. Remember, I'm talking to everyone here, whether it's in the church or whether it's in university or college. Yes, you have a responsibility. You have an opportunity. We want you involved. We want you to be in harmony with one another, and we want your cooperation, because that's the only way we can come together and achieve the goals that we have set before us. Now, what should they expect from you, the director? Let's see. Number one, you're expected as a choral director to be knowledgeable. Yes, to be knowledgeable about your craft, to be knowledgeable about what you want to do with the choir, what you're expecting from them. So what they should expect from you is your knowledge and your experience and your expertise. Secondly, they also should expect that you give your best. When you work with, and I can only talk about me because I'm the one doing the presentation today, but I know how I am. Of course, we all know how we are. I know when you come in with me, you will not get 50% of me. You'll get the best that I have. And that's what I think every singer is expecting from their director. They expect me to come in not fumbling, not knowing what we're going to do. They expect me to come in, be confident. They expect for me to know what we're going to do. And if there is a problem or a situation with the voice, that something we need to correct, they expect for me to know through the knowledge of the voice what to do and how to remedy that. And so that takes 100% of me and everything that I have been gifted with in order to produce what we're trying to achieve. And so that's what I think they should expect from you. They should see, too, that you are able to see potential. They should be able to see you see potential in them, and then your responsibility is to pull the best out of them that you can so that they can feel good about themselves when they go out and when they perform or wherever they are. And so that's not only musically. I feel that some of that is as a person, as a director. Of course, as a director, we're just more than a choral director. We're a teacher, we're a counselor, we're all of those things in one. So when they come to us as directors, that's what they really expect. Someone who has their best interest at heart, someone who's going to give them the time that they need to achieve what they are desiring to. And then someone who can see, oh, you have potential. And then when solo opportunities come up, because you've heard their voice, you're going to give them opportunities. You're going to work with them and do everything that you can to help them. That's what I think students should expect from the director. Even just today, my background today is my board. And this is in our choir room. And I have a student who was here last year. And of course, with COVID, so many things were different. And so mainly, I teach sight reading and theory every rehearsal. That's what we have. So with COVID, of course, we weren't able to meet as a unit, me as a person. What I did was I did sectionals. And so on Mondays, we had maybe sopranos, and Tuesday another day. And then when we needed to come together as one, we did it in an open space on campus, 6 feet apart with masks. And that's how we maneuvered through the pandemic. But because we did that, I didn't get the opportunity to teach theory and sight reading and all of those foundational things like I generally did. So I had a student today who's, she didn't quite grasp it. And she is an inexperienced singer. She didn't quite grasp it. So she asked me, she said, Miss Harris, can I come and can you just take me over theory? So today we've gone through a lot of the things that I'm going to go through on this presentation today, and it was just coincidental that she came today to go over this when I'm giving this presentation today. But we went through key signatures, we went through intervals, major scales, so we did quite a few things today. But that's what I think singers are expecting from us as directors, to take the time that is needed to give them what they need so they can get an understanding and be a more knowledgeable singer. And that's really important. Next slide, please. One of the first things that I always do, and for a lot of years I worked in church. For most of my years of being in music, it's been in the church. And so one of the first things that I've done in every church that I've been a part of, or whether it's, I worked at a university with a choir there before I came here to Miles, one of the first things that I do is to sit down with the students and we come up with a vision. It's very important to have a vision in any organization. And I think a lot of times we miss that in choir. But what the vision does is it pulls us all together so that we have the same, we're seeing the same thing, so we can aspire to the same thing. So when I say vision, I mean leaders, directors, you need to have a vision so the people following you can take hold of that vision and begin to see how they fit into the vision and what they can do to help fulfill the vision. It's very important. When I got here at Miles College in 2016, that's once again, one of the first things I did. We sat down and we got a vision out. And then we wrote out the vision. And then what I did, I passed it out. I said, okay, this is what we're going to do. Because I want us to all be on the same page, speaking and thinking the same thing when it comes to Miles College Choir. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this vision, We're going to write it down. We're going to make it plain, and we're going to speak it every week. And coming up, I've got choir camp in just a couple of weeks. We're getting ready to start back. But what we do is before you can come into the choir room, you're going to have to speak the vision. Yes, you're going to have to speak the vision. I'm going to have to know that you have sat down and you have looked at this vision. And even if you don't understand it all the way, or you don't see yourself being able to fulfill it as of yet, we need you to speak the vision, quote the vision. There have been a couple of times, I remember one of the first choir concerts we did once I was here, and I had told everyone, learn the vision. This was before I had them quoting it at choir camp. And we had gotten this vision, and everybody didn't want to be studious about the vision. Well, I said, okay, sure. So before we did anything, and it was a surprise to them, before we sang the first note on the concert, I turned around to the audience. I said, we will now quote the vision of the Miles College Choir. And you should have seen some of their faces. They were like, this is a concert. Why are we doing the vision? Because I said we're doing the vision. And we need to let the people know this is what we're aspiring to. This is what we're trying to do. And so believe you me, after that time with the vision, no one ever has come up and said, okay, you better know the vision. You better know the vision. Ms. Harris might call for the vision. You just never know. And that's what a vision, it cements us and our thinking and our vision and what we see. And that's really important, because if we all have different places, if we're all in different places and we see the vision in different ways, then we're going to have everything, something over here, something over there. But when the leader, the directors, has a vision and makes it plain, then we all have to come into alignment with that. And that will begin to take us on and unite us as a unit as great singers. That is really so important. I remember one place where I was, we made a song out of the vision. And I had someone come in, and it was pretty hip too. And the students really enjoyed it. And so that helped them learn the vision even at a quicker pace. So the vision is very important. Next, please. Now, music principles. Wow. This is the foundation of music and singers, and this is what we need. And I found that throughout the years that the more knowledgeable a singer is, the better singer he or she will be or become. And so because I believe that even here at Miles College, even though theory is a separate class, I teach theory in choir. So when you come into me as an inexperienced singer, and this year I've got quite a few freshmen that are coming in that don't read notes. So one of the first things I'm going to do in choir camp in a couple of weeks is to start with the things that I'm going to outline today, the music principles here in this presentation. And what I wanted you to see, music theory, number one, the keyboard as a visual is great for helping students understanding of music theory. And this is what I have behind me. When I got here, I made sure I ordered a board. And if you can see up at the top, it's a keyboard up there. And that's really important, because not only are you teaching theory, you're really teaching them how to go to the piano and play. And if you're in music education and maybe you're not a piano person, coming in here in choir and learning this, you will begin to know how to go to the piano, how to pick up your notes, pick out your notes, because this day and age, a lot of our education people, instrumental people, are finding that they're having to be choral teachers. And so you've got to know how to go to the piano, pick out your part, know which octave you can. All of those things are important. So these are the things that I start with when we bring new students in, because I ask them on the audition form, do you read notes? And most of the time, they do not. Because here at Miles College, the majority of I would say 90% of the people that I have in choir here do not read notes. So it's my responsibility, because I know that, is to provide an opportunity for them to grow and to become more knowledgeable about music. And of course, music theory is how we start with that. So, of course, the first thing that I start with are the clefs. Treble clef, bass clef. I do little on down the line, I do some C clefs, but basically, all of our music is basically written in the treble or the bass clef. And so I start with that. We deal with lines and spaces, and I was dealing with that today with my student that came in today, making sure that they can look at music, because of course if you don't read music, it looks Greek to you. What is this? And so as a person who doesn't understand music and notes, it's my responsibility. Once again, it's the expectation, I believe, of the student, that the student has of the director, is help me. And so I'm going to help you. We're going to go through lines and spaces. We're going to go through clefs. And then here, because this is in the board, in the room, I call on students to go to the board. We go to the board and I make it fun. Remember, we're still creating that environment, that atmosphere that makes them feel like they are accepted and not feeling like they don't know. And so this is a way to do that. And so I make sure that all of my students understand I'm here to help you, and come to the board and let's see if we can figure this out. And then the class as a unit will help one another. And it all goes back to the vision and what you have stated for your students and what you want them to grasp as inexperienced singers or experienced singers, because a vision is a vision no matter who you are, and it's just really important. Next, please, Raul. Octave identification. Now, this is something that some people sometimes don't think that it's necessary, but I do think it's necessary. Octave identification is a system for identifying notes by their name plus a number. Of course, the keyboard is divided into octaves. You can go C to B, then C to B, and go on. And so what I've come to find out is when I'm teaching theory, even here in choir, the octave identification system helps those who are wanting to learn piano to see how all of this fits together. So what I do is, of course, the sopranos and the altos are singing mostly in the fourth octave and the fifth octave for the sopranos, and the tenors, of course, are singing in the third, and then the basses are singing in the bass clef down in the second and sometimes maybe the first octave. And so what it does, it helps them understand even more where their voices are, where it's placed on the keyboard, and then sometimes even how it feels in their vocal range to know where they're singing. So this is just an outline of a handout that I give to my students when we come. And once again, we come to the board. We look at music that we pass out, and I ask them, okay, altos, I need you to go through and outline all of your music according to octave identification. Identify the note. Of course, that comes through lines and spaces, identifying the note. Then let's identify these notes according to octave identification. And so I have found that once they grasp this, they begin to pick up even more quickly about the other components of theory once we have laid this foundation with octave identification. And it's been very helpful over the years. I have seen much success in this. Next, please. Intervals, the measurement between two pitches, either horizontal, meaning going left to right, or vertical, which is harmonic. And this here is you want to say that every part of music theory is important, and all of it is pertinent, and it is. But intervals, yes, it's the ability to look at a piece of music and to be able to sing pitches without necessarily having played them or having heard them. Of course, that's sightseeing. But when we look at intervals, it's just really important that we understand we need to take a lot of time with that and figure out little songs or little ditties, as some people say, that will help our students identify pitches. So, like, Here Comes the Bride. Some of the things that I know in my day and age, or that I identify with, they don't identify with now. So it's a challenge sometimes to find interval songs that express the intervals that we're working on. Because one, for a major third, are some hymns. One hymn I know is Sweet Hour of Prayer. So Sweet Hour is the major third. And so you ask a student born in 1985 or above, do they know that? And they're like, what is that hymn? I don't know that hymn. So you have to find other ways and other songs that they know in order to identify these intervals. So it's going to be really important, of course, in your choir, in what you're doing with your students, to take time. Once again, going to the board is just everything to me. And then I do handouts too. But helping them identify intervals, seeing, okay, sopranos, you are how much away from, if we're in the key of G and you're singing a B, how far away is that? And then, of course, they should be able to tell you once you drill them on it that it's a third, and G to B is a third. And so there are things like that that I think that are really important, that help our students feel confident in who they are when they open a piece of music and can say, oh, I know that's a third, that's a fourth, that's a sixth, that's a seventh. Yes, I'm not talking about perfect and major and minor. I'm just talking right here, just basic melodic and harmonic intervals. And so that too is really important too. Next slide, please. Pattern of a major scale. Now, this, and I tried to draw it a little bit. Please excuse my artwork. But of course, if you know, a major scale pattern is whole step, half, whole step, whole step, whole step, half, 2 wholes and a half, 3 wholes and a half. And this is a great way to teach scale degrees, to teach solfege, and even to teach key signatures. And that was one of the things I was working on a lot with a young lady today. And so this pattern, if I go to the board, excuse me if I turn my back, and so, you just draw this outline and you go through. And okay, let's say, it's, let's take B flat. So we know it's B flat, and then I have them go through and just write the numbers in order: B, C, D, E, F, G, G, F, G, A, B. I missed something. B flat, C, D, E, F, G, A, B flat. So the first and the last note are the same because they're do, 1 and 8. And so what I have them do to make sure that we don't mess with any harmonics, I have them write everything in order. And then we go back and we go and do the number of whole and half steps. And so a whole step above B flat is C, so that's correct. A whole step above C is D, so that's correct. A half step above D, of course, the B flat is E flat, where E is here. And so all I have to do is put the E flat there. Whole step above E flat is F. Whole step above F is G. Whole step above G is A. Half step above A is B flat. And so there you have the B flat major scale. And so this seems to be fun for them to come to the board and draw the diagram and then go through it. And so the same thing if you're teaching solfege. Here with the major scales, of course, this is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, and do. So we're in the key of B flat, and I said, okay, Joanne, what is sol in the key of B flat? Well, because we've written out this diagram, we can go straight to F and see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sol is F. And so you can also use this for scale degrees. And so B flat is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if I ask you in the key of B flat, what is 3? You go here to this diagram and you see it's D. I tell the story of years ago when I was working for a pastor, and I would go with him maybe to a different church, and he would start singing a song that I didn't know. And so what he would do, I would be on the organ, and he would hold up numbers. He would hold up fingers. So if we go to 4, and I knew if I was in B flat, that meant go to an E flat chord. He'd hold up 5, and that's how I would learn songs. And so this is the same thing. This can really be very helpful to your students, especially when you ask them to go through their pieces and music that they're studying, and ask them, okay, I need you to go through and give me the scale degrees of measure 5 through 8. And measure 1 through 4, give me solfege, okay? And it's just very helpful. Could we go to the next slide, please? And I think here is where I'm talking about solfege, and I have a picture of my solfege ladder. I think I may, yes. So here, I'm not going to talk a lot about this because it gets a little bit more involved with the chromatic solfege, but I'm just dealing with basics for the singers here. And so this is a picture of the chromatic solfege ladder. And this is what I just went through a few minutes ago. We generally teach 3 representations: note identification, which includes letter names, C, D, E, F, G, numbers of each letter name, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the solfege syllables, C, do, re, mi. And so this is always helpful when you're practicing sight reading. They get a piece of music and ask them, okay, I'm going to ask you, and I ask for a lot of things, even from inexperienced singers that I'm trying to train. I'm going to ask you to identify notes. I'm going to ask you for octave identification. Then I'm going to ask you for either solfege or scale degrees or just letter names. All of that is what I'm going to include when I go weekly through different things with choir. And I have come to find now it really is very helpful. And some of them come back to me and say, oh, Miss Harris, thank you so much for teaching me that. I went to a place, maybe a church or somewhere, and they pulled out a hymn book or something, and I knew what the notes were. And you should see the smiles on their faces when they feel good, because they know coming in they didn't know, but because they have studied and been listening and been consistent, they are learning. And it's always wonderful when students have a light bulb moment and they say, oh, yes, I got it, I got it. And so that, of course, that makes us feel good as teachers and directors when we know that our students can grow from what we're trying to teach them. So this is a great exercise. If you're not doing solfege, and some people don't see the need for it, but it has been very helpful in what I've done, especially with sight reading. Okay, next slide, please, Raul. Time signatures. Okay, what can I say about time signatures? Beat is divided into 2 equal parts, 2, 4, 3, 4, 4, 4. And of course, I go through this. Bottom number is saying the top number tells you how many beats per measure. The bottom number tells you what note gets one. And so, we go through that. And so once again, I use the music that we have in our folders. Now let's look at this and let's see what our time signature is. And of course, the more consistently you do it, the stronger they become at this. And so time signatures is important. Teach that. And I'm going to say on every slide, everything is important. And it is, because we take all of these things and bring them together and make beautiful music. And so it's really important that we have all of the components in place to do just that. Compound. 6, 8, 9, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Of course, you know that. And the beat is divided into 3 equal parts: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I go through all of that with these inexperienced singers to make sure that they understand. And so then, of course, we go through our music. And I ask them to tell me the key signature, tell me what the top number means, tell me what the bottom number means. And this may seem elementary to you for this presentation, but I guarantee you it's not. I guarantee you it's not. You'll find that these elements do work, and they work very well. Next slide, please. Counting rhythm. My method is the old school way of counting. 1 and 2 and that's me. 1 and 2 and. Some people do 1 lay line and do different syllables, but that's how I do. And preparing a piece to go through. And to teach counting, of course, you've got to teach note values. Quarter note, half note, whole note, all of those things. And I think I may have left that out somewhere, but that is, oh my goodness, how important is that? I probably should have come right before this when you're dealing with students, because I found that if you don't spend a lot of time on this, students do not even know what a quarter note looks like, as much as you've seen it. And they like, well, what is that, Miss Harris? I don't understand what that is. And I asked them, okay, come to the board and draw me a half note. So you just spend quite a bit of time on note values and how they look and how you write them. One thing about counting and rhythm, in preparing a new piece, before you teach a note, have students count out the rhythm and clap it. And I give an example on here of the Chorus's Prayer by Mark Templeton, which is a great piece of music, and I just love that music. And so I think I had been here, this was in my first year, I believe. And I had been here maybe 3 months. And it was time for our concert. And maybe it was October of that year. And it's in 4/2 time. And so, of course, I had gone through a time signatures. They knew what that meant. And I had drilled them on intervals and sightseeing. We had done all of that. And so I said, well, let me just pull out this piece of music and let me see what they do. And to my utter amazement, and I do say amazement, they read through that piece and my mouth was hanging open. I didn't know what to say. I was speechless. And if you know me, there are very few times that I'm speechless, very few. But they did it with such confidence. I was just amazed at that. And so it let me know that what we had been working on was not in vain. And so to take time and to count out rhythms and to clap them, because that's what we did at first. At first, when we got the new piece of music by Mark Templeton, we clapped out. And it was a slow piece, but still clapped out all the rhythm, talked about the note values, what they were, and then maybe we took like 4, 8 measures at a time and sang through them. And it's not easy, but they did a great job, and I was so proud of them. And you should have seen their faces after rehearsal. When we did that, they felt so good. They said, I can't believe we did that. I said, I can't either. So it was really just wonderful for them to see that they are able to do that and were able to do that. So that was a wonderful milestone in our time here. Next slide, please. Sight reading. Now, sight reading, as I've told you, I do this basically every week. And I've given you this resource. It's www.secularhymnal.com. And what this person has done is created hymn tunes. And I think I explained it here. The old familiar hymn tunes have been given new egalitarian lyrics so that they can be used in public schools or wherever. And so, he's taken something like holy, 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 and given different words. And then he's written it in unison. And then he's gone and written it in SATB. And so you take this, and it is a great tool. Oh, my goodness, a great tool to use when you're trying to teach sight reading to inexperienced singers. And I have found it, it's a progression. Everything is progressive. And so we'll start out maybe the first week. We'll start out with unison. We'll probably do 2 or 3 weeks of just unison singing. Then once we have gone more into our theory principles and learning about intervals and rhythms and different things, then we'll go into SATB. So that means everybody is on their own line, just like we do in music that we study. And I have found that if I progressively do that and then go back, like spend 2 weeks in SATB and go back to unison singing, maybe another different piece, I found that they do better and better. And so it's been quite rewarding. For intonation and sight reading practice, the little hymns can be used. They are musical vitamins for choirs and quartets. And remember, once again, we're still making sure that our inexperienced singer feels good, that their well-being, they're feeling good, that they're learning something, they're feeling good about what they're singing. And so all of this is still a part of what we're trying to do for them to get them to feel better about being a singer. So yes, please go out to that website and utilize that. You will not be sorry. I'm here to tell you, you will really find that there are many things out there that will be very useful for you as you practice your sight reading. Next slide, please. The voice placement. Now, this is something where I tend to be very, very particular about. What can I say? Vertical, of course, is this way. Some people get confused, horizontal, vertical, or vertical, horizontal, whatever. But vertical is, of course, is up to down. And so I found that in my way of dealing with choirs, the vertical position is definitely the better position. I know I could go through IPA and do some other things about that, concerning that. But when we're dealing with inexperienced singers, I'm trying to get the best message across in the best way that they can understand it. And so I've found that when I talk about vertical versus horizontal, they pick that up rather quickly. Because one thing about me, I don't like a light sound. I like more of a like as opposed to vivo, which was one of the warm-ups I was talking about. I want you to warm up vivo, v, as opposed to vivo, v. Okay, and so that's more vertical than it is horizontal. And so when you take that principle and apply it to the music that we do, you will hear a different sound, and it comes across in the choirs that I have trained. And remember, I've been more in church than I have in academia, but the principle is still the same. So when I talk about vocal placement, it's the tongue too far down? Does the tongue need to come up? When you're humming and oohing, it's less of ooh. I don't like a lot of lips in my singing, and this is what I found. But if we have an egg in our mouth, ooh gives more space than ooh does. Okay, and so I'm wanting more space so I can have a better sound. And so that's what I have found, and that's what I have taught when I'm dealing with the vertical versus horizontal. Now, there are some voices, and it's probably on rare occasions, because I try to know every voice that comes in here. There are some voices that I would tell, okay, I need you to do a little bit more in the horizontal, just a little bit, to get the sound that I'm trying to get so it can match everyone within the unit. And so that's just a person by person something that I believe the director has to be privy to and has to know how to deal with that. When we talk about sometimes people give us teeth. Okay, so you want teeth open under lips for a better sound. These are all things that I talk about when we're in here going through different songs. And so my hearing has to be so that I can hear what that tenor over there on the third row, he needs to give me a little bit less. I need your tongue to be down a little bit more. This is how I have done choir, and it's worked for me. I'm not saying it works for everybody, but I'm telling you it really works. And in a minute, I'm going to give some examples of two pieces that I've been honored to be a part of. And so you can just hear a little bit of the sound that I'm talking about. Number two, I am a stickler for consonant endings. I mean, like, I can probably be almost anal, excuse me, when you talk about that, because if I can't understand what you're saying, I don't get the message. And so it's very important that I understand your consonant endings. And so I have two examples here. One is Nothing is Precious by Brooklyn Tab. A lot of us have heard about Brooklyn Tab. And this was a church choir that I was at for 16 years. And this particular occasion, I was not there to direct them. I think I was in Africa or somewhere else, but I sent them on because we had already accepted the invitation. And I sent them on because I had trained them. And so when I train you, even though I'm not there, I expect you to still follow through on what you've been taught. And this is that potential that we see as directors, that you see in your people. And even though you may not be there, they can still execute what you teach them. So Raul, if you could just play the first one. This is Nothing is Precious, and you just listen to this, please. Thank you. So if you listen to that, the first, second word, there's nothing. It wasn't there's nothing, there's nothing. A little bit more open. There's nothing as precious, not precious. There's nothing as precious as you. And if you could hear, it wasn't you, it was you. You. A little bit more frontal with that so it can carry. So that was one example of that vertical versus horizontal position. And then here's another one. This is the Miles College Choir singing I've Been Praying by Mervyn Warren. So if you listen to that, I would hope that you understood every word they said. If you didn't, please email me and I will work on that because I'm such a stickler for that. But if you notice the sound, it wasn't I've been praying. I've been praying through the years, all the evening, not evening, all the evening too. And so vocal placement, how you say it, and a lot of times I think we think that you can speak one way and sing another, but a lot of it is really just spoken. Singing is spoken. Okay, it was just spoken on pitches. And so when we think about it that way, too, sometimes our approach will be a little different. But those, I wanted you to hear the difference. The first was a church choir. Okay, so it doesn't matter whether it's church, whether it's community, whether it's university, whether it's college. You can still produce a great sound. And remember, the first were the Guiding Light Church Choir. These were persons that, if I'm trying to remember back on it, I don't know if I had one person in that church choir that read notes, not one. But we worked very hard on theory because even at that church, I had a board just like this. It was movable, and we would go through it. And that is the sound that was produced from a church choir. And then, of course, the Miles College Choir, we've been working on our sound and continue to work on our sound to get the best possible sound and get the potential to have the students reach their potential with the way we teach voice. Next, please. Next slide, please, Raul. Thank you. We can hear it again? No. Okay. All right. Number 4, the application. Music is comprised of notes, rhythm, and dynamics. Should we not learn them all? So I'm one to believe that I don't have a problem with rote teaching because we do a lot of that. But if we want to be well-rounded, and a part of the vision in Miles College Choir is that we do all genres of music with excellence. And so that means that we take all of the music that we have, we learn the notes, we learn the rhythm, we learn the dynamics, because that's what music is. It's just not learning notes and singing the notes on the page. It's not getting the correct rhythm. It's not just dynamics. It's all of that into one. And we as teachers, as directors, as conductors, it's our responsibility to make sure that our people have a well-rounded feel of everything that we're doing. they be well-rounded in every piece of music. And even if they don't read music, by the time they get through with you and you get through teaching them, they'll be reading. May not be reading as well as you, but they will be reading and they will know what they're doing. And so that's what we're trying to do, and that's what we're trying to produce here, is to make sure that we give them a well-rounded education. Well-rounded, no matter what choir you're over, no matter what, whether it's community, whatever, it doesn't matter. Music is notes, rhythm, dynamics, and then we should be teaching all of that. There's and I don't think you can see this right above my board here behind me. This is like a motto in Miles College Choir, and it says, strength comes as a result of consistency. Now, one thing I do try to teach, and this is a life principle. Okay, this is a life application principle. This doesn't just go for music, it goes for life, period. Because we know if you work out, if you're weak, but the more consistent you work out every day or every week, whenever it is, 3 times a week, the stronger you will become. And I believe that is what happens here in music. The more consistent we do something, the better we become and the stronger we become at it. And then we added another part to it, and it says consistent preparation leads to excellent execution in rehearsal and performance. Consistent preparation. So that means that you're going to have to be consistent in rehearsal, in what you teach, how we teach. We have to be consistent, not one thing one week and another the next. We have to be consistent in what we do. And if we do that, then that will lead to excellence in our choirs, and it will lead to excellent execution. Every time you hear us, if we're consistent, it should be the same in rehearsal or in performance. I strive for that in rehearsal in a great way, because I believe this: if you can't do it in rehearsal, why would you do it in performance? If everything that we're teaching is the same with its notes, rhythm, dynamics, it's you reading what you've been taught, and it's you doing what you've been taught to do. So should there be any difference in rehearsal and performance? I don't believe it should. And that's one of the pet peeves I have as a conductor. I'm not going to settle for mediocrity in rehearsal and then you give me excellence in performance. No, I believe that's causing them to live beneath their potential. And so I believe that we have to make sure that we are encouraging them and pushing them in rehearsal just like we are in performance. So when we get to performance, it's so much easier because we've already rehearsed it and we've been consistent in our rehearsing. And so there it is. It'd be a wonderful performance. Great singing can be executed with the right tools and leadership. I know many people, I won't say many people, I know some people who have great tools at their disposal but don't have great leadership. Leadership is important for us as we take on trying to be training the inexperienced singer. They need a great leader. And so a great leader needs to have the right tools, but then have the wherewithal to be the great leader that they need. And when those two can be executed together, we've got something right there, something that you can be proud of and that people can say, oh man, I love to hear them sing. I love what they're doing. That's what we want to hear, because music is a language and it's a beautiful language. And if we can portray that through students, through inexperienced or experienced singers, that is beautiful. And that's what we want to do. And that's what we want to portray. Teach students content and listen to them grow. I am a believer. If we teach content, if we go in and teach, even in our music and the songs that we choose, go through and talk about the meaning of the words, because we know when we were in undergrad or working on our degrees, if you were in studied voice, then you'd have to give an analogy of what this piece is about. What does it mean to you? Teach students that content. If you teach them what they're singing and how, first of all, you're teaching them how to sing. Then you teach them what they're singing, and then you hear from them what they believe that they're singing and how it makes them feel. Then you can listen to their growth in their singing. You can begin to hear it. You can begin to see it on their faces. So if we teach the students the content, then we can listen to them grow. And you can hear it, and it will be just, it'll be phenomenal. I'm telling you. I have witnessed this not only with me, but with other friends that I have or choral directors that I have. I see what they do. I see how the students respond to feeling like they're a part of what's going on. That goes back to the vision that you have. And so if you pull all of that together and then you just sit back and listen, you can hear the growth in it, because remember, it's our responsibility to see the potential and then to pull the potential out of them. I have one young lady, probably about 2-3 years ago. She came in quiet as a mouse, but she had great voice. She vocalized to a G6, okay? And we talked about octave identification. It's pretty high up on the keyboard. She vocalized to that, but she was really shy, but I saw potential in her. And so I gave her a solo. I think she did Sweet Little Jesus Boy by Stacey V. Gibbs. And at the concert, well, the choir knew what we had been working on. And when she got through, she did a wonderful job. The choir just lit up. They just applauded her. And that made her feel so good, because we all knew where she had come from, but where she was then after that performance. And we knew that we had sat down, we had talked about the song. She and I had talked about what it meant. And to listen to her, and then to see the growth, it was just so rewarding. And that's what I believe. I believe our responsibility is that to make sure that what we teach to whomever we teach, inexperienced, music majors, non-music majors, that they have a wonderful choral experience, and that we teach them everything that there is to know that we can in that amount of time about music, so that when they step away from us, they will still take from them what they've learned with us and still be great singers. And I believe that's what we've been called to do. And I think that this presentation today, I hope that would have helped you see how you fit in, and if there's anything that you can do to do what you do better. Because I know after this presentation, I'm still striving to be the best that I can be, to get the students to be the best that they can be. And however that's done, through the teaching of theory, if I have to come on my day off, no, I won't say that. Let me take that back. If I have to come when I'm not teaching, and you want to come and we sit at the board and go through it, I don't have a problem with that, because I want you to feel comfortable. I want you to feel good in what you do. And so all of these things go make up what we as leaders and as directors should do to make sure that our students feel great about what they do. I hope you've gained something from this presentation today. And Raul, I thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Professor Harris, for your insight and for your wonderful, wonderful presentation. Thank you. Everyone, we will now transition into the Q&A session. Please remember to submit your questions. Please remember to submit your questions using the Q&A button found in your toolbar on your Zoom. Priority will be given to questions about today's topic. Our first question, Professor, can you speak to your considerations when selecting repertoire for inexperienced singers?
Yes. Because, of course, I audition all of my singers, I know where they are. And so I'm as a matter of fact, looking to hear from my students when they come to choir camp, because I'm going to see how they sound overall. In my mind, I can hear, because I've heard their voice capabilities and what they can do. So I'm going to go to see if I can find music that's not too difficult at that time for them to feel good about themselves first, before I progressively move to something that's a little bit more difficult. So I can't say, most of the time I'm going to start with maybe a hymn or something, a hymn arrangement, and I'm going to see how we do with that before I move to something that's more polyphonic or something else other than that, to see how they do, and then to see the sound that I get. And I'm probably going to choose a spiritual too, that's going to be not as involved, but maybe a little bit or more competency on their part to see where they are, maybe after about two, maybe a month and a half, and then we'll go from there. Because right now I am still in the process of choosing music for next year, because I graduated quite a few this year, and so it's almost kind of like I'm having to start over. So retraining these singers, I mean training these inexperienced singers to come in, who are coming in, and then taking those who I've had and then making sure they continue to move forward. So that's how I'm going about choosing music for them. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Our next question comes from James, who asks, what is the best tool to teach children's choirs who can't read music?
Ooh, children's choir, James. That may be a little beyond me. Um, I don't know. Some of the same things that I've taught here, of course, but then no, I would think that's going to be something on a more basic level, and I am not quite sure that I have the best tools that can help you with that, James, because I really have not done a lot of work with children's choir. I'm sorry I couldn't better answer that, James, but I can look it up. If you like to email me, I can look it up and then we can go from there.
Fantastic. And we can provide that email to everyone at the end of all of this as well. Yes.
Mhm.
Jonathan asks, what do you find most appropriate to teach during your choir camp?
Choir camp. Who's asking this question?
This is, I hope it's okay. This is Jonathan Turner.
Jonathan. Okay, I don't want to say the first name again. Jonathan. I have a person in my choir named Jonathan. Um, Choir camp goes through basically everything that I went through today. Okay, of course, it's not as quickly as I went through it today, and then there's a lot more because I do give little quizzes. I neglected to say that I do give quizzes in choir, like pop quizzes. I want to know where you are at the end of choir camp. They will have a quiz, a test, and I will see what they've learned in choir camp, and then I can better know how we need to approach that. But yes, I go through basically everything that I went through today, Jonathan, that's what I teach in choir camp. And we do have exercising. We do run in choir camp. We do exercise. We do all of those fun things in choir camp. Um, and then we also do start new music too. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Amy, who asks, what are the elements of your voice auditions that help you determine your students' capabilities?
Okay. Thank you for asking that question, Amy. When you come in, this is my audition. I ask for 2 songs of your choosing. You can come in and sing whatever you want to sing, whatever genre, doesn't matter to me. I'm trying to hear your voice. And then I'm going to vocalize you. I'm going to take you through some 5-note patterns. B. But then I'm also going to take you through an exercise which says, I love to sing. I want to hear where your break is and how you're going to maneuver through that if you can. A lot of times they come in and they want to force sing that. They want to force it. I love, and I'm like, okay, wait, hold up. It's like, no, that's what and so once I try to school them, okay, I just need for you to hit that and come up, I love to sing. And so that way I can tell basically what voice you are. Because we know if you got a break around an A and a A4, B4, you're probably an alto because B4, C5, we kind of have a little break right there. And then when I hear in the sopranos a D5, E5, and sometimes an F5, I know you're sopranos. And so that's how I'm telling where you're going to be in the section. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Our next question, I realize that I don't know if you have this available to you right now, or maybe you can give us perhaps a summary of it, but do you have any sample vision statements that you could share with us?
I do. Oh, let's see. I'm trying to. I can probably quote the vision of the Miles College Choir for you. If I could do that. The vision of the Miles College Choir. The Miles College Choir, we will be students of character and integrity who come together to sing as a reputable voice on the campus of Miles College and wherever we go. We will be a people who come together to sing and execute all genres of music with excellence and show love toward our fellow man. Then I have a little bit of Latin in here. Ubi caritas, e amor, Deus ubi ibi est. Where charity and love are, God is there. That's our vision. And then, of course, I gave you our motto: strength comes as a result of consistency. Consistent preparation leads to excellent execution in rehearsal and performance. That is what we do here at Miles College.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize if I mispronounce the name. Celestia asks about identifying your students who desire or choose singing as a career. If you, number one, do you do that? And then to follow up, how do you guide them in preparation and training for such things?
Um, when you deal with me, I am more of a choir trainer than a vocal trainer. Now, to me, there is a difference. Okay, I can coach you, but I am not the person who you would say you would come to and talk about your career. That's not me. Now, I have been known in the church arena to be able to do that, but in the academic arena, um, I found that if I can just get you in choir and hear your potential, then I can point you in the right direction, and I can give you opportunities in this place um, to further yourself and to make sure that you get as much training as I can give you before I pass you on to the next person.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Our next question, perhaps this is in the realm of how you've developed community surrounding your vision statements. As you said, everything coming out of your vision statement.
Mm-hmm.
How do you combine the individual ambitions of your students individually and the collective ambitions of the choir?
I do meet with each student one-on-one, and I do talk to them and see where they are. And so I can get a general sense of where you are. And so if I put all that together with what we're trying to do collectively as to become a unit, and then when I look at life principles in that and what I believe you're trying to achieve in your life, then that's how I come up with the vision statement. Because if you heard, it said we will be students of character and integrity. Well, that really doesn't have much to do with music, but it does have to do with life application. So I listen to my students, and then I base that around what I hear from them and what I feel we need to do as a unit to be a force that's to be reckoned with on campus and wherever we go. If that answers your question.
Thank you so much. Yes, we will share. Thank you to the person who just asked about the email. We will make sure to share that
Okay.
with you before the end of this. If it doesn't make it into the chat, it'll be in the follow-up Colloquium e-blast. And I think, Professor, your email is also available on the Miles College website as well.
Yes.
Lovely.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. And everyone, that is a wrap. Please help me in thanking Professor Harris for being with us today. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Enjoyed it, Raul. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. If you enjoyed our content, I hope you will please consider a small $10 donation to keep our resources free and available. The donation link is now it's now in the chat, and it's available on our Facebook page. Thank you again to our sponsors, Dr. Gregory Gentry and the Choral Department at CU Boulder, and to you, our viewers. We're taking a short break during our summer. We will see you in 4 weeks, not 2 weeks, but 4 weeks for our final lecture of our summer series from the Santa Fe Desert Chorale, Dr. Joshua Haberman, on August 11 at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. Please help celebrate these lecturers by sharing our content with your friends on Facebook and Instagram. We are at Choral Conductors Colloquium. And finally, I hope you'll use what you learned today to put beauty into our world. Thank you for watching, and Professor Harris, thank you again so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Have a great day.
Right.